Our racial and ethnic diversity is the greatest it has ever been in the history of our country. Does one view the change as a threat and a drain on resources, or should it be embraced through a celebration of diversity? Public policy needs to respond to the challenge of these two positions. Should policy foster assimilation or foster pluralism and differences between the groups? We're already familiar with the concept of assimilation. Pluralism refers to retaining distinct ethnic cultures and boundaries within society. Often the issue of pluralism is in play when the question of English as an official language becomes part of the dialogue. There's strong tension between the different sides on this kind of issue. Some think that to hold on to one's ethnic culture and having social allegiance to another country is to be anti-American, and that kind of attitude and behavior should be strongly discouraged. On the other hand, many would say that the expectation of assimilation is based simply on ethnocentric ideas that European culture is superior, and that kind of attitude has been what has fueled the radicalization of American culture. Another source of tension is the fear that immigrants are taking jobs away from qualified non-immigrant Americans, and that immigrants are a drain on the social welfare system. The fact is that all employed persons in the U.S. have to contribute to federal programs, like Social Security and Medicare, while not even being entitled to reap the benefits of those programs. All documented workers and the majority of undocumented immigrants pay a variety of city, county, and federal taxes, as well as state sales taxes on everything they purchase. Overall, the contributions of these workers is substantial, and their cost to the American public is relatively low. Labor issues continue to be a major issue of concern with immigrants. Undocumented immigrants are often a controversial topic, and this number is estimated at about the 12 million number range. Most of the undocumented persons are from Mexico, so border states such as California, New Mexico, and Texas have the largest populations of undocumented workers. These states tend to pass more legislation to create barriers on the employment of undocumented workers and to prevent those workers and family members from accessing public benefits. The text cites to Arizona Senate Bill 1070. That was legislation which was one of the broadest and strictest anti-immigration bills ever passed in the U.S. It was a highly controversial law and hotly debated not only in the state, but also on a national level. The U.S. requires those who remain in the U.S. for longer than 30 days to register with the United States government, and anyone who does not do that is guilty of a federal misdemeanor. Arizona made it a state misdemeanor crime for anyone not to carry that identification with them at all times, and required law enforcement officers to determine a person's immigration status if they were stopped on the street. The state law also provided for penalties if people sheltered, hired, or transported unregistered aliens. The U.S. Department of Justice intervened, and the law was considered in the United States Supreme Court in Arizona versus United States. The U.S. Supreme Court did uphold the provision for immigration checks and law enforcement stops, but did strike down some of the other provisions regarding detaining those suspected of being undocumented. From a labor perspective, there are some strong benefits of having immigrant workers. Unskilled workers often take low-paying jobs that are difficult to fill in industries like clothing manufacturing, custodial work, or food service. This does hurt the labor pool of unskilled workers in the U.S. However, market reports show that in the long run, immigrants don't reduce employment rates for U.S. workers. In fact, because of low-skilled immigrant workers, in the long run, rates of productivity are increased, and that raises the incomes of average citizens because profits move to a higher level of labor. On the other hand, when immigrants initially arrive, the labor market may be flooded for a short period of time as the labor market adjusts to the influx of workers. It generally takes 7 to 10 years for the labor market to adjust.